Sir, lastly, I want to make it very clear on the record, and unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a profit from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be.
He decides to flip and become a cheese eater.
As a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless.
YNW Melly tuned in to a live stream from his jail blog as YNW Bortlen officially accepted his plea deal. It was revealed that Bortlen agreed to a deal that spares him multiple life sentences. He will instead serve 10 years in prison followed by 6 years of probation. As part of the agreement, Bortlen committed to revealing everything he knows about the YNW Melly case. Even the judge commented in disbelief, stating, "I don't know how your lawyers pulled this off."
I understand that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct? And that resolution was an agreement you reached with the state, the terms of which are as follows. Number one, in the 19 case, you're going to plead no contest to both counts of accessory after the fact. In the 23 case, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 counts as charged. In exchange for that, the state is going to nullify, that is, drop the 2 first-degree. In exchange for that, I'm going to adjudicate you guilty on the 2 accessory counts as well as the tampering count. I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
This might go down as the greatest plea deal ever, cutting Bortlen's exposure from 5 potential life sentences to just 10 years in prison, with time served included. The news quickly sparked reactions online, with DJ academics breaking it down. The judge said on both charges, YNW Bortlen entered a no-contest plea. For that to stand, he has to provide a factual basis. Basically, he must tell the court exactly how he acted as an accessory to the crime. That not only confirms the crime happened, but also ties directly into what YNW Melly is charged with. Academics added that this isn't a simple yes ma'am type of plea. It's what he called a gun plea with a proffer, where Bortlen has to fully detail his involvement. He compared it to the kind of cooperation deals seen in the YSL Rico case, saying Bortlen will have to sing like Franklin to lock in the agreement.
What's that? This is the plea saying you have to tell him, but this is the plea that you're going to have to provide all the details that they were missing. That's why it's a gun. Why do I say he signed a gun? Because YNW Melly, and I watched the case, we covered YNW Melly's case is that, number one, you guys are not going to prove that this is actually with what? They have to prove that this thing comes with this person being the offender. Also, the accessory after the fact plea confirmed that Bortlen, that's kind of like almost like a sub part of a conspiracy. Except he worked with the conspiracy at first. He came in after that. What that proved is that they came in. What that proved is that Bortlen worked with someone after he acknowledged that a took place in trying to cover it up. You hear what I just said? When pleading to an accessory to after the fact, you have to acknowledge that it happened and you assisted someone or in some way to cover it up. Now, if Melly's statement, I don't know, and then secondly, I don't know who did, but they said it was a drive-by.
Following the plea deal, reports surfaced that Bradford Cohen, attorney for Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, claimed YNW Bortlen had bitten the cheese and is now expected to flip on rapper YNW Melly in connection with the double murder case.
All right, let's talk about YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen. He is now doing the triple Lindy. For those youngsters that don't know what the triple Lindy is, it is when you do several flips off a high dive, and he will be flipping. He is going to be tell-all about anything he knows about the double case, and they will know if he's telling the truth or telling a lie when he gives his full, quote-unquote, confession as to what happened that evening. And that's what happens. A lot of times where guys are in prison for 4 or 5 years awaiting trial and looking at a life sentence, and they're offered 10 years where they'll be home probably in another 3 years that he'll serve, he decides to flip and become a cheese eater. And that's what happens a lot of times on these cases. And I was expecting it to happen a lot sooner than it did. He held out for quite some time. But long story short is it looks like he's going to flip. And it makes the case on YNW Melly, depending on what he says, which I anticipate he'll say that YNW Melly is responsible.
Even 6ix9ine chimed in, writing that YNW Bortlen has officially accepted his plea deal with prosecutors and that YNW Melly is finished. He reminded everyone, "I told y'all about these rap guys years ago, but because they were scared of how big I was, they all singled me out." In court, the judge made it clear to Bortlen that prosecutors will likely push for an interview, one where he'll have to speak openly about the crime he committed alongside YNW Melly.
Lastly, I I want to make it very clear on the record, and unrelated to this negotiated plea. I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a profit from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be. What I want you to understand, sir, is I guess that's part of this negotiated resolution, but your answers to any of those questions, whatever they might be, have no bearing on me and have no bearing on this negotiated resolution. In other words, the deal you negotiated is the deal you negotiated. And that's the ball. You understand all that, sir? Have you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about all that? They've answered all your questions? You're sure that that's what you want to do?
With YNW Bortlen landing such a generous plea deal, it's clear the state's real target is YNW Melly. The situation even sparked a reaction from Offset, who tweeted, "Damn YNW Melly getting snitched on by his best friend. Free that boy. He been locked up way too long." Still, many argue Bortlen had no choice, given the prison time he was facing. What do you think? Would you have taken the deal too? Drop your thoughts below.
Henry, do you understand the offer that the state is making? You're charged as follows. Counts 1 and 2 is the first degree with the crime. Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. The jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged. That's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. Count 3 and count 4 are accessory after the fact in first degree. Those are each first degree. Maximum penalty for each of those 30 years. Count 1 is tampering with a witness in a capital felony. That is punishable by life in prison. Is directing the activities of criminal, that's first degree felony punishable by life. So the maximum penalty there is also life in prison. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit tampering. And again, as it's charged, that is also life. As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. Life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida.
The state structured this plea deal with YNW Bortlen for a few key reasons. One of the biggest stems from the night of the crime, when Bortlen sat through an interrogation. At one point, the officer asked him directly, "If you know who committed this crime, would you tell me?"
Just telling me the truth, even if it's something that I don't want to hear. But I respect the truth rather than BS. Okay? And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay, you may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly.
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
I wouldn't really be quiet.
During the interrogation, Bortlen never gave a clear yes or no with his voice. Instead, he simply shook his head. Investigators believed this was telling, because if Melly was the one who pulled the trigger, Bortlen would have known. Saying no out loud could have exposed him, as the stress might have caused his voice to crack or shift in tone, signaling a lie. To police, that hesitation spoke volumes. The truth is, Bortlen never wanted to be involved in any of this. In the interrogation room, he could barely speak, clearly just wanting out of the case. And the feds, they already had evidence pointing straight at Melly. He had literally admitted to it himself.
Gambino asked him if he was okay, and his response was, "I did that," and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time. The YNW Melly count says what?
After that, S-H-H-H-H.
But YNW Melly always believed he would beat the case. Even before Bortlen struck his plea deal, Melly showed his confidence by ordering a $100,000 chain from behind bars.